Let's get started.
Blessing, we're good to start.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brendan Magnan, Chair of the Milford Inlands Wetlands Commission. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the agency for May 3rd, 2023. Lisa, could you please call the roll?
Ranjit Bahav, Daniel Bedecker,
Here.
Jim Connors, Matthew Connors,
Here.
Dave DeFlameri, Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Here.
Steve Munson, Lisa Tryon, Judy Valvo.
It's Julie Valvo, and I'm here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And Brendan Magnan.
Present. Thank you very much, Lisa. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone that's participating that as we continue to host remote meetings, there's a few guidelines that we would ask everyone to follow. In accordance with the Freedom of Information Act and Governor Lamont's executive orders, this meeting will be live streamed and made available on the City of Milford website. During the meeting, if anyone would like to be recognized by the chair to speak, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. Once recognized by me, please state your name and address for the record prior to making your first statement. At this time, I'd like to then move to agenda item B, Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone can come off mute, stand, and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Mayor Rose, could you give us, sorry, before I go on to item D, I skipped item C. Public comments, is there anyone here from the public wishing to talk, address the agency on topics not otherwise on the agenda? Going twice. Going three times. Hearing none, moving on to old business. Mayor Rose, can you give us an orientation on item D1, please?
Sure. This is, hold on, I'll share for you. So we can refresh everybody's memory. Commissioner Bahav is entering the room, or will be in a second. All right, so this is item D1. It's 40 Morehouse Avenue, IW 230009. It's an application by Cheryl Quinlan to elevate a single-family home in place at 40 Morehouse Ave with decks and stairs for access within approximately 42 feet of a wetland and approximately 58 feet of a watercourse in the South Central Shoreline watershed. Share that map for you. At our last meeting, Ms. Quinlan and Mr. Lockwood described the project, and the agency requested an updated survey and stormwater plan. That information was received and has been reviewed by the city engineer. The signed and updated maps and city engineer's review are in the document links. Ms. Quinlan's engineer has designed the stormwater system to go under the patio at the rear of the house and under the driveway on the western side of the house. I've spoken to both Ms. Quinlan and her contractor, informing that if they need to dewater for the footings or the foundation, that they cannot discharge the water to either the wetland behind them or any catch basins in the street. They need to dewater onto their property or use another mechanical solution. So Mr. Chairman, Ms. Quinlan and Mr. Lockwood are here this evening to answer questions, and I turn the meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Ms. Quinlan, for the record, if you can introduce yourself and if you'd like to add anything else that hasn't already been presented, you may do so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I really have nothing to add whatsoever. My understanding is that Bob is on the call from Codaspati if there are questions about the plan, but I really have nothing to add, except that I hope this meets your standards.
Great, thank you so much. Commissioners, other questions for the applicant at this time?
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, through you, I think we should make a motion if it's okay with everybody else.
Yeah, I'm willing to entertain a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve this. Let me just find it. Hang on, sorry. Mr. Chairman, after duly considering all relevant factors, I move to approve application IW-23-0009, 40 Morehouse Ave, based on the plans entitled Zoning Location Survey, 40 Morehouse Avenue, prepared for Cheryl Quinnen, Milford, Connecticut, by Codaspoli and Associates, PC3 sheets dated 4/11/23. The information in the file and presented this evening for the following reasons. This action will not have an impact or effect on the physical characteristics of the adjacent wetlands and water courses, with conditions including the permittee must submit a construction plan prior to taking out the permit, soil erosion and sedimentation controls as outlined on the plans and in the CT-DEP 2002 erosion and sedimentation control guidelines must be installed and maintained on the site until the property is stabilized. Wetland notification to be placed on the as-built and in the property deed to give notification to property owners that permits are required from the Milford in the wetland agency to work on the site. Documentation to be submitted to the MIWA office prior to bond release. Compliance with the city engineer's requirements for stormwater. Stormwater treatment must be installed as approved on the plans unless any changes are approved in writing prior to making that change. As noted by the city engineer, additional soil erosion and sedimentation controls measures may be required due to site conditions. Any dewatering required may not be directly discharged to the wetland, marsh, or city catch basin. A bond of $5,642 must be posted with the Milford MIWA for S&E controls, border plantings, wetland boundary markers, and an asphalt showing finished 2-inch contours and 2-foot contours and locating all site structures. The permittee must submit a certification by the project engineer that completed project meets the design intent of the approval prior to bonds being released. The permit is issued 5/3/23, expires 5/3/28, unless otherwise provided by statute. That is my motion.
Thank you for the motion. We have a second on the motion.
Julie Valvo, I'll second.
Great, thank you, Julie. Any further discussion on the motion? If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, Lisa?
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye, I'm in favor of the motion. The motion carries unanimously. Ms. Quinlan, good luck with your projects. Thanks for coming before us.
Thank you. We're very happy. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Drop off. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on to item D2. Mary Rose, can you give us an orientation on this one?
Mr. Chairman, I think we might need a motion to hear items D2 and D3 together. This is 106 and 112 Merwin Avenue.
Mary Rose, could I make that motion to hear those two items together, 106 and 112 Merwin Ave?
We have a
Thank you.
motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote.
Sorry, who seconded that?
Matthew Connors?
Okay. Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
And I'm in favor of the motion. It carries unanimously. Thank you, Mary Rose.
Okay, I can share. This was here. All right, this, I can only share it if I hit the share button, sorry. There we go. These are two applications for one project that spans the properties of 106 and 112 Merwin Avenue. The proposed project is for grading alterations to the existing parking area to reduce ponding of water and to provide positive drainage to Merwin Avenue and the rear of the properties. No filling or alteration of inland wetlands is proposed as part of this project. Work is proposed within 100 feet of a wetland in the south central shoreline watershed. City engineer had requested revisions to the site plans for erosion and sedimentation controls. Those updates are in your document link this evening with the city engineer's review of the plans. Mr. Chairman, Attorney Kersaden, Robert Weway, and Bill Kenny are here this evening to answer any of your questions. I turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Mary Rose. For the applicant team, is there anyone that's going to present it? Mr. Kusaden, is there anything you'd like to add to the record that hasn't been already brought to the record?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the agency. For the record, Kevin Kersaden, 3 Lafayette Street here in Milford. Mary Rose gave the run. What we did since the last meeting is Mr. Weway, who's on the call with us, made some revisions and had some meetings with, made some revisions based on meetings with the city engineer, which you're looking at those revised plans now. And I believe we have a revised memo from the city engineer, or it might be a final memo that I think states that everything is in compliance with what he had requested. So unless Mr. Weway has something further, I don't have anything further to add at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Kersaden. I do see Mr. Weway connecting to audio. That's what it's showing, but it looks like he's, are you in the room?
No, I'm on through another call.
Okay. Anything further to add, Mr. Weway?
No, I think unless the commission has any questions, I think the plans speak for themselves, and we've addressed everything from Mr. Podolsky's earlier review memo. So I think all outstanding issues have been taken care of for the project.
Okay, thank you. And Mary Rose, do you believe all of the concerns have been identified and resolved?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Chairman, I do believe we've addressed the concerns. The erosion controls were extended the whole width of the site. We've added an anti-track pad, and I think the project is in a position to be approved.
Thank you, Mary Rose. At the last meeting, we contemplated whether a site walk was needed. We determined that we didn't need that. So at this time, we can either entertain a motion to approve or otherwise.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I'd like to make a motion to approve this. Mr. Chairman, after duly considering all relevant factors, I move to approve application IW-23-0021, 112 and 106 Merwin Ave. 112 Merwin Ave and IW-23-0022, 106 Merwin Ave, based on the plans entitled Property Site Development 106 and 112 Merwin Ave, prepared for Peter Dreyer and Merwin Avenue LLC, Milford, Connecticut, by Kodosby and Associates, PC, 2 sheets dated 2/7/23, revised 4/24/23. The information in the file and presented this evening for the following reasons. This action will have an impact. This action will not have an impact or effect on the physical characteristics of the adjacent wetlands and watercourses, with conditions including the permittee must submit a construction plan prior to taking out the permit, soil erosion and sedimentation controls as outlined on the plans and in the CT-DEP 2002 erosion and sedimentation control guidelines must be installed and maintained on the site until the property is stabilized. Wetland notifications to be placed on the asphalt and in the property deed to give notification to property owners that permits are required from the MIWA to work on the site. Documentation to be submitted to the MIWA office prior to bond release. compliance with the city engineers and requirements for stormwater. Stormwater treatment must be installed as approved on the plans unless any changes are approved in writing prior to making that change. A bond of $5,795 must be posted with the MIWA for S&E controls, border plantings, wetland boundary markers, and an asphalt showing finished 2-foot contours and locating all site structures. The permittee must submit a certification by the project engineer that the completed project meets the design intent of the approval prior to bonds being released. The permit is issued 5/3/23, expires 5/3/28, unless otherwise provided by statute. That is my motion.
Thank you for the motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Bedecker, I believe you were seconding that one. So the motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I would just like to acknowledge, I think it's prudent to approve this because of the situation and the facts as it's been presented, and the design is well conceived. So I'm an advocate for this approach. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahar,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Attorney Crusaden, thanks for coming before us, and
Thank you.
to the other parties involved.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
the agency. Thank you.
Mayor Rose, can you give us orientation on E1, please?
Hold on a second. Let me share that. Just one for a second. All righty, Mr. Chairman, this is item E1. It is 230023 at 184 Platt Street. It's an application by Chrissy Schumann for a 24-foot round above ground pool within 100 feet of a wetland in the South Central Shoreline watershed. The wetland line was marked in the field by Scott Stevens, professional wetland scientist of Soil Science and Environmental Services, on 4/21/23. The pool is proposed in the grass area of the rear yard between the existing deck and a row of arborvitae. There is approximately a 1 to 2 foot slope or drop in elevation from the location of the arborvitae to the wetland area. The proposed pool location is sketched in red on the soil report map in the document links, and it's approximately 6 feet from the wetland line. The owners understand that silt fencing would be needed to be installed in the area until it's stabilized and the grass is stabilized and stoned for the pool, and that they cannot backwash or dewater the pool towards the wetland. They are planning to use some of the soil from the pool installation in the side yard to even out some depressions, and the remainder would be taken off site, and that area would also have silt fence or fiber logs on it for protection. Mr. Chairman, Ms. Showman is here this evening to answer any questions. I'd just like to run through the photographs from my site walk first.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the rear yard, existing house and deck, a little bit of a slope down to a fairly thick stand of arborvitae, and there's a couple of pines in there as well. This is another view. You've seen the shed on the site plan. I'm standing in front of the shed, looking up at the yard. In this bottom photo here, I'm standing over in this area where my cursor is on the top picture, and peeking through the break in the trees that are off the picture here. I can see a little bit of the wetland flag. Sorry, it was a little dense in there to get to it. This is standing in that same area now, looking across the yard, approximately where the pool would go. It's probably going to be dug in here a little bit on this hillside. And then this is standing on the far side of the yard, roughly over here, looking across from the cellarway at the backyard area where the pool is proposed. The side yard where they're proposing to lose any excess soil is off photo, would be behind me as I was standing in this area. And this is Mr. Stevens' report. And as it comes into view, this is an old map. There's a little bit of scaling issues with it because it's been copied and recopied a few times. The soil scientists used this to plot the 2023 wetlands on a map that I believe was from 1991 and used for an addition that was put in at that time. So the wetlands are roughly in the same area, no real big difference. My cursor's on the right-hand side of the picture. You can see the existing shed. I've labeled approximately where the pool would go. It may shift a little left or right, depending upon, Ms. Schumann's discussion with her pool installer. And I just noted the existing deck so you could see in relation to the pictures where things would be. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Mary Rose, just while you have this map up, is that given sort of your experience with the nature of these applications, is that location workable? Is it viable? Is it ideal? Is it?
It's workable. I mean, it will be tight in this area of the yard, which is why I'm saying they may slide the pool a little bit to the left of the house. They've got a fairly large play yard area here in the side and a little bit more in the front. But I don't think they're going to spread it too much to the right because they'll impinge getting into the shed. Is it workable in relation to where the wetlands are? We've had pools put in locations this close before, people that had a hillside and a wetland and a stream, and there really it wasn't much of a yard to play in, but it was a big enough yard for a pool. And so the agency at that time approved that with the understanding that the folks wouldn't be backwashing to the pool. Backwashing to the wetlands would be across the grass so that any chemicals could volatilize in the sun before they hit the wetland area.
Great, thanks for that orientation, Mary Rose. I'm sorry, for the applicant, would you like to introduce yourself and add anything else to the record?
Hi, my name is Christina Schumann.
Would you like to add anything else to the record?
No, I don't know.
Okay. No problem. Questions from the agency? Either of Mary Rose or of the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Connors.
I guess my question would be directed at Mary Rose since she's been through some of these applications before, but are there any concerns in terms of like major storm events? What happens in that situation?
No, this area, there is a flood zone on this property, but it's towards the rear. I'm not sure that it's marked on this plan, but my recollection, it's in the back half of the property. Rain on the pool, if it's summer, it goes in the pool, and it may overflow, but at that point it's diluted anything that's in the pool. Rain in the winter will collect on the cover and at some point will be pumped off or siphoned off onto the grass to help equilibrate the balance there. I don't see any issue from a storm. It's not going to be impacted by floodwaters, and it's not even if it did flood this high up, it's not going to displace a significant amount of water.
Thank you, Mary Rose.
Thank you.
Mr. Connors, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bahave, Commissioner Bahave?
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to know what alternative locations were considered for the location of this pool.
So that's directed to the applicant, Ms. Schumann.
Yes. What was that question again?
What alternative locations were considered for the location of the pool?
We didn't have another alternate location considered, really.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this right side of the map or the yard, you can see there's a bit of a slope. So this is more of a play area that, you know, you deal with a little bit of slope. It might be more difficult and harder to see the kids in the pool if the pool was on this side.
Commissioner Bahave?
Yeah, so my main concern is the proximity of this pool to the wetlands. If the pool bursts or something, you know, that so much water is just going to flow into the wetlands that will be untreated. And I guess even if, you know, during normal cleaning operations, even if the water runs over the grass, how sure are we that the chemicals will be absorbed in the grass and only clean water will flow into the wetlands?
Well, we are not using a chlorine pool system. We're using a mineral system. So there really won't be a lot of chlorine in the pool. You only have to use chlorine once or twice, maybe 3 times a season, because of the new mineral systems that pools are they have come out with now.
I see.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Bahave, any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Matthews, Mr. Connors, I'm sorry.
In regards to the mineral system, are we talking, is this a saltwater pool or is this?
No. It's now, it's just called a mineral filter system. It's not saltwater.
And does anybody here actually have any knowledge in that area with these sorts of pools? Because I mean, my family has pools too, but I'm completely unfamiliar with this new technology.
Yeah, it's pretty new. Like our installer was telling us that people are just starting to convert over to the mineral system. It's more expensive to maintain because you have normally you buy those chlorine tablets. These mineral tablets are about $100 a tablet. So it's a little bit more expensive for
And
people.
the science says that this is a safer method than chlorine type of thing, or?
It makes the water it makes it softer. It's better for your body, for your hair, for all of that stuff. Because, you know, chlorine can be like really harsh on people's skin and stuff like that. This makes everything the water more softer. And you use less chlorine. You still have to use some, but not as much as you would normally use by any means.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you for the answer. Very knowledgeable. Mary Rose, going back to your earlier orientation around, you know, the location of this in comparison to previous applications, like for us on the agency that may not have been involved in some of these, I know I don't recall anything where this was as close of a proximity. You're comfortable with reasonably comfortable with the location, and I mean, as a sort of a matter of record, we as an agency have to balance the homeowner's use with the protections of the wetlands. So we have to balance that risk and that benefit, and we're obligated to do that. So can you just help us think about, you know, how we would would think about that risk that Commissioner Fave was referencing?
In the past, when we've had pools this close, I think a few years ago, we had a few that were probably within 5 and 10 or 10 to 8 feet away, was the closest we've done in recent times. In the past, commissioners were concerned about the chlorine in the water, but balanced the amount of times that a pool will burst. That's not to say a pool can't burst. It will. Some of us have had that happen, even with proper care and maintenance. So it's a risk reward, I guess. You know, how big a risk is it for a potential once in a lifetime pool burst into the wetlands versus allowing a person to utilize the property? One would hope when it comes time to take this pool down when it's had its useful life, that we would be pumping the pool out to a truck or running it slowly over time across the yard, running a hose up the yard so it has time to run down to get to the wetland. Not as dramatic as a burst pool, but certainly more environmentally friendly. So yes, chlorine was the main concern for commissioners in past pools. I'm not sure, if we're dewatering up gradient and giving it time to run across the yard. I'm not sure if how big an impact that is.
Okay, thank you, Mary Rose. I appreciate it.
Mr. Connors has his hand raised.
I appreciate your experience. I know we all do, I think, in this area. So Mr. Connors, another question?
Yeah, this is directed for Mary Rose. Was there any trees within, let's say, falling distance that you were concerned of in the yard? I didn't really get a good look.
There were mainly, it's mainly a row of arborvitae. There's one pine. And it seems to be a fairly healthy stand of arborvitae. Dating myself a little, but I remember when this application came in and they did the addition and the deck. And I believe the agency at that time had those arborvitaes planted as kind of a line at the edge of the yard. Because the applicant at that time had wanted to bring in significant fill for the back of the yard. And so you can see that they've aged well. There's one spot where they're missing it, and that's got a pine tree in it. So
it's done its job as designed, protecting the resource.
So yeah, there are trees close by, and yes, that is a potential thing that could happen. A tree could fall in a pool. I don't know that we can prevent that.
Maybe if we could, I don't know what the applicant is willing to do, but maybe just revisit the health of some of those trees if there is concerns, or something like that along those lines.
How do you do that?
I believe there, go ahead, Mary.
You would have a tree professional, an arborist. It's on private property, so our city tree warden wouldn't look at them, but it would be a private tree firm come and look at the trees to make sure they're okay. That's no guarantee that it's not going to get hit by lightning and not come down. With the placement of the pool here in the yard, it may be difficult to get to some of these trees, but then again, I think even if it's not a tree right on this line that comes down, you're going to have difficulty getting to it anyway. You may have, pardon me while I scroll, you may have better access. You do have better access to the rear of your property over the encroachment that the condominium has on your land, because they have a parking lot and right up to the edge of the wetland on the backside here. So if you needed to get in to take a tree down, that would be where you would go. I would think with wet roots, they may be more likely to come down in the wetland, in which case they provide habitat value, more so than being concerned about having to remove them.
For you, Mr. Chair, basically my concern was I'm not so much concerned. I'm more concerned as if there is any dead or dying trees that is within the area of striking distance. I can't really tell by that photo. That's why I'm trying to get a judgment based on what you've seen, Mary Rose. But that would be my major concern and that's something I think an arborist or a tree professional can answer within just glancing at the property.
Yeah, nothing struck me as being, it's early in the season, but nothing struck me as being in danger of immediate dead or dying.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bave?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, so or the question is directed to Mary Rose. So in this site plan, we see the contours. So what is the contour interval? So,
I'm s-
so on the, so on the right side, we see 60, 60, is that 60 elevation or what is it?
Those are soil numbers, I believe.
Okay, and then by any chance, do you know the contour, I guess interval? or-
Yes, I do. Up here by this, well, and I'll zoom in, but I'm not sure how well that's going to show.
Okay,
So right here where I'm running the cursor off site
yeah,
is elevation 30.
yeah,
So we're kind of steep as we get onto the yard, then we grade out a little bit. Elevation 20 is about the center of the house.
okay.
And let's see if we can find.
Yeah, so like I was trying to say, like, like the alternative location is that right bottom, where there is a significant distance between the two contours. So that area would very well be flat compared, like even better than the area that is, being considered right now. So if slope is a concern, I mean, that might be flatter area, I guess. So at
I
the
see
right
what-
bottom, yeah, so at the right bottom,
Yep.
if you just keep going down, No, so keep going down. It's between the 260s, yeah, that area. Between the 260s. Yeah.
That's the front yard. A
Okay.
pool's not an allowable use through zoning in the
Okay.
front yard.
I see. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. That was my question. Yeah.
Very, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Bave. So, Mayor Rose, at this time, as this is a pre-application, we can ask for additional information. We can require a full application. We could schedule a sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
What's
It is
the-
through you, Mr. Chairman, it is a pre-application. If the agency deemed it a use permitted as a right under section 4, you could approve it as a use permitted as of right, but do understand that there's no conditions on a use permitted as of right. So there's no requirement for silt fencing.
Understood. What's the prerogative of the agency?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, I think it looks like a pretty straightforward application for a pool. I don't know which way we should go further, but I think it looks pretty good from what they're showing us.
Thank you, Commissioner Gladue.
Yeah, this is Ranjit. Yeah, so actually, I would like to see their, some additional information about how they are going to go around, how they are going to excavate and what kind of, I think somebody mentioned about silt fence is where are they going to place the silt fence? Some more details about actual installation.
So, Commissioner Bahave, that would dictate or necessitate the applicant to present a full application. This is a pre-application.
Okay.
So it's a judgment call for us to make as to whether or not we feel strongly that that needs to be considered a full application, or reflecting on what Mary Rose has said, this is a balanced statute where we have to judge, the risks with the use of the land. I'm comfortable with it, given what Mary Rose said, and given the arborvitaes are kind of providing a natural buffer to the wetlands. So, but that's my view. I'm open to a motion in whatever prerogative the agency wants to move in. Is there a
Mary
motion?
Rose, I can make a motion, but I don't see one on the agenda to approve it.
Right. Motions were written for receiving and considering as an application to its proximity to the wetlands, because you might want to require silt fencing. If the agency wants to present this as a use permitted as of right, you would want to approve under section 4 of the regulations, a use permitted as of right for a 24-foot above ground pool at 184 Platt Street. and direct me to write such jurisdictional ruling.
Okay, so I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll give a second.
We have a second from Julie. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Connors.
I just want clarification. So in terms of the construction of, I'm not familiar with the construction of above ground pools. Are we, I guess this would be directed at Mary Rose, in your experience with the above ground construction, is there any need for silt fencing?
Above ground pools are typically put in a day. They'll come in the morning, they'll scribe the circle for the 24, and they'll go probably a little bit bigger to put some stone around the outside. They'll go 4 to 6 inches deep and lay in 2 courses of stone, one finer than the other, to allow drainage and to make sure no stones come up underneath and puncture the pool lining. They then erect the aluminum siding of the pool. Once they get that in and it's footing stabled, they put a liner in, and one of the guys jumps in and gets the liner in and around the edges where they attach, and they start putting the coping on the top of the pool, and they start putting the water in.
Gotcha. So it's
So now
one
you've
day's worth
got-
of work.
Right. So that circle, that 25-foot round circle, is stoned almost immediately. Now you have a pile of 24-foot round by 4 to 6 inches that either you have trucked off site. Ms. Shomans had said that there's some divots in that side yard, and the front yard that we talked about is kind of sloping, and I apologize, I don't have pictures of that. And they'd like to use the stone there, I'm sorry, the soil there to even out and flatten that soil for the kids to play on. In that area, I suggested they use a fiber log so they don't have to dig a hole for a silt fence, or put a silt fence in just until they get grass established.
Thank you. I'm comfortable with the motion then.
Thank you, Commissioner Connors. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
I am with the motion. The motion carries unanimously. Good luck with your project, Ms. Showman. Thanks for coming before us.
Thank you so much. Have a nice night.
We appreciate your information and the education you provided us as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Can I just have a confirmation of the second on that motion?
Second was from Ms. Valvo.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on to other business. Let's see, what do we have? Next up is, if you could throw up the,
Consideration of minutes of the next meeting or the last meeting.
yeah, do we have a motion to approve those as presented?
Mr. Chairman, let me read that. Hang on. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the minutes from the April 19th, 2023 regular meeting as presented or as amended. That is my motion.
Thank you. We have a second on the motion. Second from Mr. Bedecker. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahav,
I would like to abstain because I was not there in the meeting.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Abstain.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Abstain.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item G, staff report, Mary Rose.
Hold on. Recording all the abstentions. Thank you. Staff report. It's in the notes, but as usual, links to any training and meeting dates, regulations, bylaws are in, and the City of Milford Ethics Guide are in the link on our notes. The office has been busy. It's been a busy spring. a lot of flooding issues the last few weeks, complaints and some minor reviews. We have a few big projects that will be coming. There'll be a couple of rather large sidewalks coming up probably in June, July. And we've been working on some other annual reports, getting things ready for some bigger projects. I had a table at Earth Day on Saturday, the 22nd. It was cold, it was rainy, it was also the first day of baseball season. So it wasn't that crowded, but we did get a number of people through. We spoke with citizens regarding runoff, erosion control, not to put things down catch basins or in your wetlands, that kind of thing. Educated people on the hazard mitigation plan and some flooding issues for our CRS stuff, and how to be more resilient to flooding. So it was a good day.
Thank you, Mary Rose.
Status updates on projects are in the notes. The 1553 Boston Post Road is nearing completion. 690 New Haven Avenue did their plantings the last couple of days. We expect the spring report should be coming in the next 6 weeks. And we've had some issues at 161 Westmore with the stormwater. We're working that out with the other portions of the DPLU. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Mary Rose, for your explanation this evening as well during the, especially with regard to your experience with pools. Chair's report, the next meeting will be in 2 weeks via Zoom. Please let the office know if you're unable to attend. Thanks, Alderman Marlowe, for continuing to join our meeting as a representative. I know you're quite busy. Thanks, everybody, for the deliberation this evening on several applications. And at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. Lisa, roll call vote.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Daniel Bedecker,
Aye.
Matthew Connors,
Aye.
Heather Donaldson Gladue,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
Good evening.
everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good
Thank
night,
you,
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.
Blessing, we're all done.